Really?
The time now is 7 o'clock. We will call our meeting to order. Please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Of course. Mike Cunningham.
Here.
Kurt Schultz.
Here.
Jennifer Eden. Here. Herman Ferguson.
He said he won't be here tonight.
Okay. David Walker.
Here.
Zach Tucker.
Here.
Pam Loeffler. Here.
Do we have any changes to our agenda? So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Next is approval of the consent agenda. Regular board meeting minutes from July 19th, 2022. The treasurer's report from July 31st, 2022. And the clerk's warrants and bills.
So moved. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. We have three communication items. Item number one is the fire service report dated August 10, 2022. The Planning Commission meeting synopsis dated August 9, 2022. And the Planning Commission approved meeting minutes dated June 4th, 2022. Or June 14th, I'm sorry.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to receive and place on file communications 1 through 3. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to public remarks. If anybody has any public remarks about tonight's agenda items, feel free to step up to the podium and state your remarks. Yes, Mr. Deacon?
Is this only on agenda items?
Yeah, just on agenda items. All right, thank you. Being that we have none, we'll move on to unfinished business. We have no unfinished business. We'll move on to new business. Item number one is the request of Charles and Kathy Anderson to appeal their fire run service charge. I'm assuming that you are Charles and Kathy Anderson?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is allow you to tell us your side of the story, and then the board will ask you some questions, and then we'll figure out how we're going to handle this. Okay?
Okay,
All right. So why don't you go ahead and
so, on the day in question, my husband was out burning brush. We have quite a few pine trees that border our property, and during the course of the year, we had accumulated quite a brush pile, and we were trying to take care of that on that day.
I would borrow the wood chipper and wood chip the lion's share of it.
Right, there was just a little bit left. We have a fire ring, and he had been out there all day tending it, right there beside it, hose was right there, whole bit. And he had burned it down until it was pretty, there was no flame, there was no, just a little bit of smoke coming from it, and he had left the side of it and went into the house to go to the bathroom and get cleaned up. I was standing by the window watching. I saw the fire guy pull up outside. I told Chuck that he pulled up. Chuck went out there and talked to him. He talked to him about 15, 20 minutes, just one gentleman in one car. That was it. Chuck took the hose. He put out the remainder of the smoldering ash. It was done. They left. That was it. That's all we heard of it. There was no imminent danger to anybody. There was no trucks showed up. It was just that was all there was to it. So we feel $1,400 is excessive for what occurred on that day.
Yeah, that's the rate that the fire department charges for every run, no matter what it is. So that's why you were billed that. Does anybody have any questions?
Was it supervised when the fire department showed up?
When he showed up, there was nobody standing directly next to it, no. Was it being supervised? I was watching from the window, yes. So, and he had, literally, there was a fire hose, we had a hose there, and I was standing there keeping an eye on things. It's right, you can see it right from our picture window. He had just walked into the house, he hadn't been in the house that 10 minutes. He had been tending it all day right there. There was no open flame, there was no imminent danger, there was no reason to be worried about it in any way, shape, or form.
I have a question about how long were you in the house when you went in to clean up?
10 minutes. I went and used the lavatory and
I guess that would take care of the section 7.1.
his point was that at
0.10.
the time he showed up, there was nobody in attendance.
Right, but I was keeping an eye on it. I saw him, he never even made it to our door, truck walked out to him.
How far is your house from the fire pit?
I'm not good with distances, how far would you say it is?
Tape measure. Around 30 feet, I would say.
You can see out the back window.
It's front window, because the way our property is, it's larger in the front than it is in the back,
Gotcha.
because it's like a pie wedge.
That's a subdivision off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were allowed to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we reduce the amount by 1/2, which if my cornerstone math is right, would make it $730.50.
I second that.
All right, well, we have a motion to reduce the fire run charge to $730. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? None. Got it reduced for you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We'll be in contact with you and we'll send you a letter if you want to make payment arrangements or pay in full.
We appreciate that, thank you.
All right, moving on to new business. Number 2, presentation of our township audit. We have Joe here from Gabbridge, which is our auditors. And he's going to tell you about how we did financially this year.
Good evening.
Good evening, Joe.
Joe, before we begin, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Is this the exact, are these identical from what was provided in the board packet?
Yes.
Okay, okay, because I'm going to review them twice, so.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, yeah, that was my only question, is if this is the same as what we got in the board. Okay, thank you.
So, as has been the case, as in previous years, I would like to thank the township staff. They did a wonderful job. Everything was very well put together for this year's audit. Not only did we receive the financial statements, we also received all the backup schedules. The township, Casey, does a wonderful job of taking ownership of the financial statements as they get provided to us. Even though we know that the township has always done a wonderful job, we still work with the various financial institutions. We verify, confirm the numbers, we work with Treasury, various other financial institutions. We confirm and prove the numbers that were provided to us. And there were no audit adjustments this year as part of the audit process. If you go now to page 1, you will notice if you compare this year's audit to last year's audit, the geography of the audit opinion is a little bit different than what it was in the previous years. Now, the opinion is the second paragraph instead of being on page 2. You can find it on page 1. What matters more than anything else is the opinion paragraph. Paragraph down, we write, in our opinion, financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the township as of March 31st, 2022. This is a clean opinion on your financial statements. It's a gold standard. And the technical term, according to the American Institute of Certified Public Accounts, is an unmodified opinion, but it doesn't sound very flattering. So this is the cleanest opinion we can provide. And it means that your controls are suitably designed and effectively operating to ensure that you guys are receiving accurate, timely, and verifiable financial information. So it means something to achieve it, but always should be the township's goal to get a clean opinion on your financial statements.
So that's basically auditor's term for kicked butt.
Yes, it means kudos to the staff for doing a good job.
And Mike, I'm sorry, they're not getting audio on Zoom.
Thank you. Who's got the?
And they're saying they can't see the podium at all.
It says there's video. Okay, start and stop it. I see it up there. Can you, and the microphone moves when I'm talking.
So they sound like they're underwater.
I wonder, can they hear us okay, and we're not hearing Joe okay?
Planning commission meeting, we're getting a lot of feedback too.
Well, show that it's registering that it's going. Maybe if we just speak louder?
Sure.
Can you turn up the volume a little bit, Joe?
Yeah, I'll speak more loudly. So I don't plan to go through every page of the audit. I'm going to go through and cover financial highlights. Certainly, if there's questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask. The next section that I take the readers through starts on page 5 of this is the management discussion and analysis section of the audit report. And here we get financial highlights, 2-year comparative information to see some of the trends of your finances, and some narrative that explains the reasons behind significant changes in your assets and liabilities and revenues and expenses for the past 2 years. Starting with the financial highlights, that first bullet point shows that if we took the assets and we paid off all the liabilities of the township, there'd be about $21.86 million left over. We refer to that as being net position. In the corporate world, we would call this equity. It's a theoretical number because obviously the township has no intention of doing that. And it includes all of your assets, long-term assets, land, buildings, things of that nature. When we back off the non-spendable items and we focus just on the liquid assets, we see that the township has $9.4 million of unrestricted net position as of March 31st, 2022. So a little bit better representation of what your true liquidity was at the end of your fiscal year. This is across all of the township funds, not just your general fund. Second bullet point down, we can see that the total fund balances across all of the township funds came in at $11.27 million as of March 31st, 2022. This is on the modified accrual basis of accounting. I would think of the modified accrual as being cash basis. Essentially checkbook accounting. This is how much these represent. The $11.27 million represents your immediate resources compared to your immediate liabilities. And that represents an increase of about $1.3 million during the course of the year. In other words, the cash in exceeded the cash out by about $1.3 million. And then that third bullet point, now we're looking just at the unassigned fund balance of the township's general fund. So the most important element of the general fund's fund balance came in at $4.5 million, which is about 424% of your annualized general fund expenditures. And not too much, not too little, very healthy fund balance, very stable financial condition as of the end of the year. Allows the township the flexibility to any matching grants that pop up or capital projects. You've got the funds available to meet those needs, as well as cover the day-to-day cost of running the township that's available to cover your salaries, wages, utilities, things of that nature. So very healthy financial condition and year end. You go down to page 8 of the report, we get a look at the 2-year comparative assets and liabilities for the township. And the very top row, it's always nice to see how your cash is doing. It came in, the very top row, very last column, 2021 March 31st, 2021, cash and cash equivalents were about $8.2 million. That number improved up to about $9.6 million. Some of that had to do with your increase in that position. The increase in that position was about $1.3 million. In addition to that, you also had, the township had about $555,000 of unexpended ARPA funds on hand as of the end of the year. And if we go about 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way down in the liability section of the comparative statement of net position, you can see that in 2022, there was $554,908 of unearned revenues. That represents the first half of the ARPA funds that the township received prior to the end of the year. They have not been expended yet. For that reason, they are recorded as unearned revenues. And ultimately, over the course of the next 3 or 4 fiscal years, the township is going to expend those funds and recognize the revenue at that point in time. So those are future resources available to the township subsequent to the end of the year. You guys may have already received the second installment of approximately the same amount, $555,000. And then lastly, 2 rows up from the bottom, the unrestricted net position was in 2021, $8,186,000. That number improved to $9.4 million as of March 31st, 2022. So it's nice to see unrestricted net position, and it's nice to see it trending in an upward direction. If you go down to page 9, we get a look at comparative revenues and expenses for the last 2 years of the township. And just a couple items I wanted to point out here. First, if you look in 2021, about 5-6 rows down, the state revenue came in at $945,000. In 2022, that number improved up to about $1.4 million. The biggest reason for that was the fact that the township received a one-time census adjustment of $263,000. So it's one-time in nature, but at the same time, it is sitting in your bank account at the end of the year. So healthy increase in your state aid, we're seeing that across all the communities that we work with. Not only was state aid up because the sales tax revenue sharing was up, the Tyrone also had an increase in your census, so that benefited you guys as well. And then if you look 3 rows up at the bottom, the change in that position in 2021 was a positive $480,000. In the corporate world, we would call this net income. And that number increased up to $1.3 million at March 31st, 2022. So back-to-back years of increasing net position. A lot of our communities were struggling with their net position, especially with all the COVID uncertainties during the past couple of years. Certainly kudos to management and the board to manage your expenses and to maintain a healthy financial position for each of the past 2 years. Now, if you go all the way to page 19, you'll look at all of the funds for the township as of for the year ended March 31st, 2022. The very first column shows how the general fund did during the course of the year. And 3 rows up at the bottom, you can see that there was an increase in your fund balance of about $1.3 million, $1.32 million. And then if you look across all the funds of the township, the very last column shows that there was a $1.31 million increase in total fund balances. So basically, your general fund had a healthy increase in fund balance. All the other funds were more or less break even during the course of the year, which is basically how they're intended to run. Your special revenue funds should collect revenues and pay those resources right back out. And for the most part, they were break even during the course of fiscal 22. Next, if you go to page 44, we get to the general fund budgetary comparison schedule. One of the things that we take a good look at when we're kind of assessing how our clients monitor their financial position during the course of the year is how they monitor their budget. I want to point out here that if you look at your budgeted expenditures, every one of your departments came in at or below the budgeted amount. So it just tells us that, again, it's a sign of good controls, healthy monitoring. Normally, when we look at our township's budgets, there are some level of budgetary exceptions. You guys are clean across the board. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out, if you go to page 52, you get all the way to the very last page of the actual financial statement audit report. Then if you go one more page, we get into an additional letter that we provide as part of every audit engagement. And we just kind of talk about some of the highlights within or throughout the course of the engagement. If we see controls that are not suitably designed or effectively operating, we are required to put those in writing and to bring those to the board's attention. We label them as being either significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. We don't necessarily compliment our clients, but there are no findings in this report. So the absence of findings is the closest that we can get to complimenting our clients. Basically, everything was very clean. You had a clean opinion on your financial statements. Your financial statements were verifiable, and your controls are operating effectively to make sure that you're looking at accurate, timely, and verifiable financial statements. So accordingly, you have a clean report on your internal control as well. And those are the highlights that I've got, but certainly happy to take any further questions the board might have.
A question on page 35, actually, as it runs over to page 36.
Okay.
Under custodial credit risk, we have approximately, well, not approximately, we have over $13 million in township deposits that are in FDIC insured or credit union insured institutions, with $6 million of that exposed because it's not insured. What is your thinking in regards to how much of that should be protected in insured accounts?
Sure. I get that question a lot. It really depends on the financial condition of your financial institutions, and there are sources online that you can go to verify to make sure that your financial institutions have a clean slate of health. Obviously, it only becomes an issue if one of your financial institutions begins to struggle. So you can take a look at your credit ratings, make sure that you're comfortable with how your financial institutions are performing. Most of our clients, especially when you get to the level where there's $13+ million of cash and investments on hand, there's normally a level of uninsured cash at any point in time. So there's nothing unusual about having uninsured levels of cash. It really boils down to what is your comfort level with the banking partners that the township has selected. So as long as you're comfortable with them, that's nothing to be worried about, and it really fluctuates from client to client. It just depends on what their credit risk is and what types of resources and programs their lending institutions provide to them.
Well, most financial institutions that are even close to being in trouble get taken over by the FDIC before anything happens, and somebody buys them to take up the slack.
Sure.
I have one other question for you, too. How many governmental entities do you guys audit at the average?
Roughly 250
Okay.
across the state of Michigan.
So out of the 250 that you are auditing, in your opinion, how do we match up against them? Pretty evenly? Our controls in a financial institution are better than others, or our financial controls and our ability to pay our debts are above average, way above average?
I don't know that the standards of my profession allow me to answer the question as it's asked. I will say that you guys are in a healthy financial position. You don't have some of the struggles that a lot of our local units have right now. Net pension liability, net retiree health care liability. Those are two big issues that a lot of our local units are facing right now. They're trying to manage the funding percentages of both of those. You guys don't have that type of issue. You don't have those defined benefit pension and retiree health care plans. So that's a huge plus for the township, to not have to worry about those long-term trends. It's a 20-year liability that is absent from your financial statements that most local units have. So that definitely puts you guys in a stronger financial position than most of our local units. In addition to that, your fund balance, I've been presenting many audits lately where they have deficit net positions. I've got some clients that have deficit fund balances. You guys don't have any of that. Your fund balance is strong. You've got ample reserves. You've got enough reserves available to make sure that you can, if there's a grant that pops up that has a significant local match requirement, you've got the ability to be able to meet that match requirement. Same with, if there's a road project or some type of a one-time expenditure that pops up, you've got enough sitting in your bank account to be able to weather those types of storms without having to go and necessarily borrow to cover it. So I would say that your financial condition, I think it's safe to say, is certainly above average. I don't know how much more detail I can provide than that, though.
No, we kind of look at it as a report card.
Sure.
And so we like to be able to tell our community that they can look at this as being a good job being done here, as opposed to some of the areas which I know are in a deficit situation.
Sure.
Thank you.
I think we got a gold star for our chart, so we can hang it on the refrigerator. Any other questions? Joe, thank you very much for showing up tonight.
Thank you.
Love that.
Appreciate it.
We don't need to accept the audit.
No. They just thought it's done.
Whether you accept it or not.
Yeah, your stuff's with it. There it is.
Item number 3, request of the treasurer to attend the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Association Conference that goes to this every year. It's a budgeted expense.
So moved.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the treasurer to go to the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Association Conference. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries. And moving on to new business number 4, award of the parking lot contract. We received 2 total bids for repairing the parking lot. The first one was from Superior Contracting at $287,670. Allied Construction is $252,570.25.
I'm assuming since it was bid, they both bid the same project, so the scope was identical. Is that right?
Yeah, the scope was prepared by Spicer. And we're, moving on some light poles and taking up a couple of islands out to match the upper part. So it's a little smoother, and we had a few more parking spots out there as well.
Is there any reason not to accept the low bid?
That'd be a good question for Phil here. Do you have any issues with Allied?
No, they did the other half of the lot that's out there, they do a great job, with no issues with that.
Does that answer your question?
Then I move that we accept the bid from Allied.
Do we have support? Support. It's been motioned and supported to award the parking lot bid to Allied Construction. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion carries. We're done with new business. We have no miscellaneous business. And that takes us to public remarks. Anyone? Okay, go ahead.
Sarah Goldman, Jersey, on Foley Crossing. And last time I was here at the last board meeting, I was here with the Historical Society. And we read a statement that largely expressed concern about the townhouse project. And really what we were aiming to do was to reach out to our board for help. And I don't know that we did a complete job of conveying the full picture. And so my job tonight is really just to thank you, the Township Board, for the actions that you have taken to support the moving of the historic townhouse. And forgive me if this sounds like a list, but I made a list. So you approved unanimously a resolution to move the townhouse in January of 2022, which also articulated that you would continue to maintain, insure, and own the building for our community. You supported and participated in the online auction fundraiser by providing items in baskets for bid and also participating in the auction itself. You also unanimously approved a resolution in April of 2022 to recognize the Historical Society as a nonprofit for the purpose of obtaining a gaming license from the state of Michigan. Jennifer made that happen within about 24 hours. So that was really amazing turnaround time. In July of this year, in addition to allowing us to host a community event on township property, nearly every board member attended Pioneer Day and joined the community in celebrating local history. And that was I think a really special day, and we were all very happy to see you there. In August of this year, you approved and followed through on fiscal sponsorship for the Community Fund of Livingston County grant application, and that's greatly appreciated. I hope that we end up being successful with that endeavor. And in addition to that, you took time to meet with us countless times, take calls, respond to emails with the Historical Society to plan for this project. And I just want to say that for myself personally, and I know the Historical Society too, that we're very much looking forward to working together to move and preserve this little bit of Tyrone history for our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Scott.
Scott Dietrich, White Lake Road. She said that the sound was a little bit better. But we gotta get this Zoom fixed. It wasn't working at the planning meeting the other day. I got a couple issues. You know, we've had, I'm not great at nature right now, just trying to bring up some ideas. I know we've had a lot of non-meetings. We got a lot of stuff that needs to be done in this township. In some meetings, even if you've got nothing on the agenda, we got people up here to bring up issues. A lot of people try for this township, they got blinders, I don't see nothing. Okay, I mean, I drive under the bridges, they just say, the cement's falling off the damn thing already. Go under Center Road, big hunks, be through someone's windshield. I mean, you can see it, they just painted it when they redid it here a couple years ago. And I know you guys are all driving in this construction traffic. It's crazy. What they're doing on this highway, they're redoing the bridges. Guys, why aren't we, what I understand is just spending all this money redoing bridges, why aren't these bridges being ready for a third lane? I mean, I don't know how far in the future they're ever gonna get a third lane through here, but we're living with the consequences of it with all the accidents out here, with our fire runs and stuff. I mean, it's just terrible. I don't know why Brighton from 96 to Heartland, Tyrone to Fenton, down the line here, why all these communities aren't getting on the state's butt together and say, listen, guys, you're spending all this money, we got all these traffic jams, but you're not doing it right. I mean, you're gonna do it, let's get it set up for the third lane. I mean, we're spending all this, they're spending all of our money on these bridges, and they're not even gonna be capable. They're gonna have to come out again when they go to the third lane. And I'm sorry, this third lane is way overdue. And the bridges are already falling apart. I mean, they just fixed that bridge, you guys, you know that. And I haven't looked at the other one. Center Road, you guys just paid to have that done. You know, that grade down through there is horrible. And it's all washing out already. We only had one big rain this year, since they fixed that. I got 3 inches in my house. My dad had 2. So between there, I mean, just big potholes. And you look down the ditch, they didn't put any little dams in to restrict the flow of water. And it's just going to tear it all out again. We did that here a few years ago. I brought that up in another meeting. And we're spending all this money. The county should be doing a little better job of what they're doing. Another thing we could be doing, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of township things that we could do, not being this event that the Historical Society, that's great. Maybe we need to have more stuff going on here. Maybe we need to prep some of this property for parking. The parking lot issue I was going to bring that up another meeting. I know my brother helped do the curbing. I don't know if that's the company that you guys hired, but he was one of the ones that was out here doing the curb. Mock Community College, we all came in here, we had a big crowd in here, and we were really asking, I know you were helping us, is this tax on the Mock Community College? And here we have an election to go by, nothing was done. I mean, Bill gave us some ideas, I mean, I don't know, he said he was discussing it with you guys. We got another election coming. I mean, that's a lot of money I'm paying a year, and I'm not getting nothing from it. And I looked on this TV the other day, they were talking about all this foundation money getting donated here. I don't know if that's the same money, but I'm just thinking, that's hundreds of dollars that I'm paying, and I don't know where the hell it's going. I mean, if we got meetings that aren't being held, it's kind of nice that we got a meeting of 100-something pages of things to read. So, I mean, that helps, so thank you guys for not stretching it out too long this time. There is an issue, I don't know who's in charge. I've heard people say it's not their job. I don't know whose it is. But we're supposed to have a planning commission meeting and a public hearing but it's also on the same day as where we're supposed to get together and talk about, what are those spots?
Visioning session.
So they haven't canceled one, so we're gonna do both on the same day? I mean, no, we probably shouldn't, it's too much, but they haven't canceled it. So maybe we need to reschedule it. So we would, now I heard that it was on the website, but I didn't get an email. So you might want to send an email, it's not gonna be a visioning center, you're not, sessions you're not gonna have. So like I said, I think it was great, I mean, I didn't come to it, I was working. But stuff like this for the community getting together is great. And we should do more. And I'm really glad that it's working out for this townhouse finally. And we get a lot more cooperation. I mean, I'm sorry to have to come to that, but you know, I feel about the past on that issue. But and that's what really made me irate. But other than that, I don't know what can we do about the roads. This 23 year, I don't know if you guys have talked to other communities, but maybe we need to get on the state's front. I mean, maybe there has to be a lawsuit against the state for all the costs that were occurring on fire runs. I mean, we're not the only community.
Yeah, the fire run issue is one, but yeah,
We gotta do something. I mean, the traffic jams, I mean, it was this last summer. I mean, I wouldn't mind, so, you know, you go through it, you say, okay, they're gonna fix it right, it's gonna last a while. But it's just, I see things get patched and then just go up, you know, and have to do it again.
well, I know that they inspect those bridges annually, so
They just did that bridge.
yeah, they'll have to fix it.
See, go look, when you want to drive under it,
Yeah.
there's, I mean, that's gonna go through somebody's windshield, and they just fixed it. The problem was, instead of patching, they should have torn these things out. Like they did at 96 and got it ready, put new ones in, and had them ready for a third lane. I'm sorry, that's what I did. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Any other comments?
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
In regards to the fire call earlier.
Yes.
So, you don't have to have a burn permit.
Correct.
And if somebody calls the fire department on me, I'm responsible for $1,400?
If you're in violation of the ordinance.
Can you clarify that ordinance so that doesn't happen to me?
Okay.
It's a lot.
It's a couple pages long. It's on our township website, on ordinances on the general side, and I believe it's ordinance number.
I'll find it on this.
Yeah. And, yeah, just read it. And what they failed to do in theirs is they had a nuisance factor. The smoke was going in the neighbor's house.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, so.
Can't control the light.
Yeah.
So is it just common practice for them to send an engine out or a representative?
So what'll happen is if somebody calls and says, hey, look, smoke's coming in my house, the neighbor's smoking me out.
No, but the fire department, instead of just taking the time to drive there, they didn't call the residents that he was going to?
No. No, they don't. Once they get a call for some sort of fire, they have to roll the truck. They have to roll the truck. They can't not roll it.
Okay, I didn't know.
Because, yeah, it's for liabilities. So if they say, oh, we're just gonna call, and you know. So, yeah, that's it.
I think it's hilarious, those $1,400 charged to you because a neighbor decided they didn't like the smoke instead of coming over
Right.
to their neighbor and saying, hey,
Get the
could you
people
put that
driving
out?
down 23 when you don't even know who they are that call.
Right.
Well, don't we pay, the fire department's funded with their tax money, right? And they turn around-
No,
They're not, where do they get their funds?
we're contracted. We don't have a fire department. So rather than, spend $5 million plus to erect it, we just pay the per run rate, and it's a good value.
Well, that makes sense.
You're paying $150 a year.
I'm paying way more than that.
No.
I pay it here, I pay it there. I
It's
pay it
part of
there,
the SAV. There's
Explain to
an
him
SAV.
about fire.
I'm asking about it.
Well, no, but that's, you want to know where it's coming from. We're paying $150 for police and fire.
That's fine.
I didn't know we could.
All right. Anything else?
It's not necessary.
Oh, I have another question about the vision.
We have one on Zoom, I believe.
Wait, he's still at a.
He's still not.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more.
The visioning board, that's being contracted through a company in Ann Arbor?
Oh, that's our contract planner that's gonna hold the visioning session.
But they're out of Ann Arbor?
Yeah.
Why don't we have somebody from our township?
In other words, why do we want Ann Arbor to be?
Yeah, ideologies from Ann Arbor.
Oh, they're a professional planning company.
Okay.
And we vetted them, they came in with the best rate and highly recommended, so we switched. We were using another one, where are they, out of Oakland County, and we weren't happy with them.
What is their role actually?
I'm sorry?
What is their actual role? I mean, what are they doing? Because obviously, it's coming back to you guys, if anything changes, right?
Well, as a planner, they're up on the laws, they know the Planning and Zoning Enabling Act, they help draft ordinances, they do site plan reviews, make sure that we're following the law and we're following our ordinance. They do a lot. And, master planning services is just another thing that they do.
Jack of all trades.
We have a hand raised, looks like Mr. Petta up there.
Yep.
Okay, do you want to go ahead? Jeanette? Jeanette?
Says the signal's out. I see her mic.
No, that's just-
Oh, that's a different,
That's
yeah.
She's coming back, I'm gonna send her a message.
Maybe we should fall asleep.
She's not muted.
She's sending me a message right now, I think. Where she's at. She's trying, she just said she's talking.
It's not showing muted.
No, it's not muted.
Click mute all and then unmute. Yeah, unmute it.
The mic's not working on our computer.
She's unmuted.
I can see her microphone.
Yeah.
Turn her volume up. Maybe she's just talking. Because her mic's working.
Never seen it since this whole thing started, just anywhere in the world. It was dropped.
Let me see if I can get her on the phone.
I'll call her, so she can disable the speaker.
Does she want to, do that, and just bring it up here and we can listen to
So
her.
I got this speakerphone on, go ahead and talk.
Okay, let me know if they can hear me or not.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions regarding your first item, of new business regarding the fire run. Well, first of all, and maybe you can answer this for me, I would think you wouldn't mind answering this question because I could not hear audio. What was the reasoning for cutting their fine in half? All I saw was a vote, heard a vote. What was that reasoning?
Do you want me to answer that?
Well,
My reasoning, the whole thing changed when they mentioned, the husband mentioned that he had rented wood chipper and had been working all day, so that's telling me that he spent his day working and invested money in this. It wasn't some big, huge, crazy fire with a lot of scrap wood from his trees.
You hear that?
Who was that speaking?
Him.
Pam.
Okay, so I guess I'm wondering, I still don't understand what the reasoning is for cutting it in half, and what would be the reasons for reducing the fine by, say, 75% or even 80%? I'm just wondering how they came to that number. I don't know if they can answer that or not, because I didn't see any discussion on that.
Well, the $1,400 fire run charge, which is standard, that was a burden chip for them. So Dave suggested cutting it in half, and I went along with that. I think that's fair.
The simple answer is it was completely arbitrary.
Okay, thank you. The other case.
Thanks, Dave.
I don't know a better answer than that. It was completely arbitrary.
Well, I wondered if you have scale or you had certain things that you take into consideration for doing that. That's what I was wondering. Number two, could you, and for that one particularly, could you please tell me why some people don't have to come up to the podium? And one of the reasons for that, and I mention it all the time in both the planning commission meeting and the board meetings, not only is it hard for people watching on Zoom, I think you get at least a little bit better quality of audio when somebody's at the podium. So who is required to come up to the podium and who isn't?
I'm sorry, next time I'll come to the podium.
Yeah.
There's 8 people here.
No,
It's the supervisor that's supposed to ask you to come to the podium. I'm not necessarily addressing the person in the audience, I'm asking the
Yeah,
supervisor.
we'll just make sure it happens going forward.
Yeah. Anything else?
Okay, yes, hold on just a moment. Again about the audio, can anyone tell me, I mean, I guess I could go back in the minutes, but I know that we spent a hefty fund last year, the township did, on, audio equipment or improving things. Can anyone tell me what we got for that? Because I see no improvement in the audio. It's been just horrible trying to hear who's saying what, and especially when people are in the back of the room and talking back and forth with the board.
We're gonna have our tech guy come in and address it, take a look at it, figure out what's going on.
Okay, so, I was told by, the deputy, clerk that you guys don't have a, contract because you didn't wanna pay for it, or for whatever reason didn't pay for a contract for maintenance, and that you have to rely on someone doing it for free. Is that true?
No, we have someone now that is, going to be our IT person.
Okay, but previous to this, that was why we couldn't get things fixed?
No.
We didn't have anybody?
We didn't have anybody per se on staff in-house. That is true.
Okay, so, and I was told that was the reason why it was down for so long, was that we relied on people to do it for free.
No, I don't think we rely on them to do it for free, no.
All right, well, that was a message that got out to me, so.
Okay.
Again, I hope that you get this audio fixed. It's horrendous, and I would suggest again that the podium be turned slightly so that we can at least see the person that's speaking, because sometimes you have to combine this with lip reading because the audio is so bad. And, I think that would just be fair to the residents who want to see who's
Right.
saying what and try and figure out what's being said. Thank you.
Well, they're addressing the board though, so.
Can I add something to that parking lot before you guys sign off? Can we get some trees out there?
Where?
Trees, we're trying to get rid of the trees.
Well, I'm talking around the property and stuff. I mean, you know, in the future, this lawn is just bare over the pond. I mean, it'd be nice to have some shade trees out there for some events. You know,
We don't
Some
want,
flowers.
You don't want
you don't want trees on a retention pond. Because
Well,
they cause a mess and they plug up.
Well, not if you can put them right on top of, no, I'm just talking about, I just thought it was an idea. Because if you have events, it's nice to have shade trees and stuff in the future. Something like that.
Motion to adjourn. So moved.
Wait.
Whoa.
Just as a follow-up to Scott's.
Come up to the podium.
Right. Good job, Zach.
Thanks to your husband, you don't have to come up to the podium.
I'm just wondering, my name's Erica, I'm just wondering, in a follow-up to Scott's question about like mock community college taxes. If we bring something to the board, and Bob Bazat was here and we talked about it, what would have to happen in order to have those re-looked at, what happens after we come and talk to you about it?
So the end result of that is the only way that you can get that done is to circulate a petition, get signatures, put it on a ballot, and to vote it off.
How do you get it on the ballot? How many signatures do you need? How do we find this out? Because we bring it to you and then it seems like it just drops off.
Well, Mike, we voted it down.
Stop.
No, but we voted it down.
But I'm telling, I understand that, but it's a whole district. So, I believe that you're gonna have to, I don't know if we can petition just the township or the whole district has to go back.
I think he said it was Genesee County, so
Yeah.
the whole district.
So the whole district, you have to take it back and have it voted out.
See, Tyrone Township does vote it down, but
Yeah.
Genesee County votes it in.
Right, I get that. We get overruled because they have some. more
So
people,
it's
but-
probably gonna take, a concerted effort between, large group of people to circulate petitions to get it
In
to get
here
it
and
removed.
Genesee.
Yeah, but
Genesee
Genesee, all the
does.
other counties, everybody else votes it down. The problem is the ones that benefit from it, they vote for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're the
The
ones that
majority.
benefit.
But and that's usually not on a general or a primary election. It's on a school board election and nobody shows up to vote.
We are in Livingston County, not in Genesee.
I know, but because we use
Because we're-
Genesee schools, they brought us in.
Benton is Genesee.
We're the GIS state.
Okay.
That's why I was-
I just want to know, like, when we bring it to you, like, where does it go? It seems like we never get feedback later when we address something
Right.
with the board. I'm just wondering
No,
when
we-
the feedback comes back.
We did address that. I don't know if you were here, but we talked about it.
Did I miss one?
I don't know.
Yeah, we addressed it. I think it was 2 meetings after that.
Yeah.
1 or 2, whenever he got the
I thought Bob
information.
said he had a way around it. I thought Bob,
He was gonna come back to us.
I thought Bob, he said there was a way around, there was some other way. I thought he said there was some way around it.
No, he came a couple meetings and he was asked the question. He said, the only thing you can do is put it on a ballot.
I didn't know that. It's a whole ballot.
Well, what point is it not financially advantageous? Not enough people utilizing for what we spend. It averages out about $18,000 a person that goes there.
It's more than half of our government programs.
Well, we gotta change it.
Right.
We pay almost $900,000 a year in taxes for Tyrone Township alone.
Yeah, we know.
You know, they get about $27 million a year in tax money for a place that has $255 million in assets.
Right. So, yeah, that's what's gonna have to happen. It's gonna have to have a petition circulated and go on the ballot.
Well, is there any way to look at it and get it reduced, because their enrollment's way down, yet all their projections are up 3%, 4%, 7% a year for the next 3 years.
I don't remember how many years that was for on the
3.
ballot. Was it 3? So then it will have to be voted upon again. So when it comes on the ballot, then everybody better be out picketing and
Yeah,
saying,
start
"No,
campaign to say no.
The reality is, you can't live on Lake Fender here in Tyrone and go there for college, get a job that pays enough to do it.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, find out when it goes back. That would be probably the easiest way to work around it is to start an ad campaign, get signs, and, spread the word so people get out and vote and say no.
I hear you.
All right, everybody, well, thanks for coming, appreciate it.
I don't think we ever voted.
We didn't.
Oh, yeah. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried. So,
Is that true?
guys,
Pretty soft, yeah.
yeah.
I'm pissed off about paying for public school. I don't ever do
You're working hard to
The problem is,
Vote.
So excited.
Vote or not vote, whatever you want. Or vote. Vote.
yeah,
Tomorrow?
it's gonna, yeah.
That was,
No, that's next week. You didn't get the memo.
Because they're getting our money and